I think on one side you have to understand the business of it. I hate these exhibitions. I hate these 14-ounce gloves. I don't know what it's going to be, but like, you know, you've got Jake, who's a 210, 220 pounder fighting a 135 pounder.
Tank Davis versus Jake Paul exhibition. Man, I got a lot of thoughts in this big old head. I'm telling y'all, a lot of thoughts running through my mind. Man, I'm thinking about, Bigfoot versus Littlefoot.
That Jake Paul is fighting one of Anthony Joshua's legs. He's fighting Gervonta Davis, somebody who's a quarter of his size. I don't even know what's going on.
My point still stands where it stands. Jake Paul wins this fight. I already bet Gervonta Davis in the DMs. We locked the bet. Guys, it's obvious Jake wins this fight.
Ryan Garcia seeing red over the Jake Paul versus Gervonta Davis fight, letting the world know he's far from happy about the matchup. When Ring Magazine dropped the news of Jake Paul facing Gervonta Tank Davis on November 15th at State Farm Arena in Atlanta for a live exhibition on Netflix, the boxing world went into disbelief. Ryan Garcia weighed in on Twitter, expressing serious doubt that the fight would happen. Garcia wrote, "I strongly doubt this happens. No way Gervonta accepted 195 pounds. Gervonta is already small naturally, and you really think he'll decide to balloon up to 195 pounds? You've got to be delusional to think this is going to happen." Annoyed by the announcement, Ryan Garcia followed up with another post voicing his frustration and disbelief over the matchup. Ryan stated that boxing is officially the WWE. He added that if the fight somehow goes through, he'd put his money on the bigger man, noting that the matchup highlights a new blueprint in boxing. Garcia said, "This just proves that the new blueprint is getting popular. Be a decent fighter, pick fights to win that give you an advantage, and continue to rack in money. The integrity of the sport is getting ruined every day. If you are an up-and-coming fighter, I just focus on strictly building your name." Meanwhile, Timothy Bradley slammed the fight, likening it to Bigfoot versus Littlefoot, and even comparing it to Andre the Giant facing Wee Man. He predicted that the matchup would resemble more of a circus spectacle than a legitimate boxing bout, adding that it's going to look incredibly strange once they step into the ring together.
Tank Davis versus Jake Paul exhibition. Man, I got a lot of thoughts in this big old head. I'm telling y'all, a lot of thoughts running through my mind. Man, I'm thinking about, Bigfoot versus Littlefoot. Andre the Giant versus Wee Man. Man, this is gonna be better than damn Circus on Lake. Yeah, they gonna look weird as hell in the ring together, man. You see how big Jake Paul is? 200 plus pounds? Man, I don't understand it. I don't get it. Yeah, the circus continues. This is why I can't stand damn Jake Paul. This is why I can't stand him, man. Shoot. Man, Canelo Alvarez is about to jump on that train, too. You know, you got guys like Andre Ward that want to take care of Jake Paul.
Additionally, Bradley Jr. remarked that while everyone knew this fight would dominate conversations, the expectation was that it would only be scheduled after the Lamon Roach versus Gervonta Davis bout.
You got guys, Tank, we already knew this was coming. You know, this was supposed to come right after the Roach fight, but he got a draw. Now they didn't skip and ski past the damn Roach fight. Ain't that damn something? I cannot believe this. This is crazy. Man, that's why you gotta stop hanging out there out there in the ATL, man.
Furthermore, promoter Eddie Hearn revealed that the fight between Jake Paul and Gervonta Davis was agreed upon 3 to 4 months ago. He admitted he did not expect the announcement to come so quickly. Hearn expressed his personal dislike for exhibition bouts and the 14-ounce gloves used in those bouts, but acknowledged the importance of considering the business side of boxing.
I think on one side you have to understand the business of it. I hate these exhibitions. I hate these 14-ounce gloves. I don't know what it's going to be, but like, you know, you've got Jake, who's a 210, 220 pounder fighting a 135 pounder. Bit weird, but at the same time, you know, I can't be a hypocrite and say, if you're Gervonta Davis and you're being offered 20, 30, 40 million, whatever the number is, and you're getting 7 or 8 to fight Lamon Roach in a 50-50, what are you going to do? I mean, maybe the kid's half checked out of the game anyway, you know? So I think as long as we kind of established it's not boxing and it's just this entertainment thing, then I get it.
On the other hand, Eddie also revealed that neither he nor Anthony Joshua had any intention of fighting Jake Paul and were not seeking the matchup. He stated that it was Jake Paul and his team who approached them with the proposal, and he said they likely would have accepted it regardless of whether Paul's team was entirely serious.
You know, I think it probably, a lot of people are saying, you know, do you still want to fight him? Anthony. It's like
Yeah, I was
we
gonna
never
ask.
really. So we never really wanted to fight, and we were never really looking for the fight. We were approached about the fight, and we would have said yes. Whether they actually ever wanted to fight him, or whether it was just, you know, for a bit of clout. But if he did want to fight, probably does change things a little bit now, because, you know, if he gets beat up by Gervonta, or I don't know, like, I just don't know what's going to happen. But that's the freakiness of it. So I can't really knock it, but it's just not really for me. You know, a fight's a fight. It's Queensberry rules.
Building on that, Carl frog slammed Jake Paul, highlighting the massive size difference between Jake and Tank by joking that Paul is essentially targeting AJ's legs. Frog called the matchup an absolute joke and expressed frustration, admitting he doesn't know what is happening in boxing these days.
So Jake Paul was supposed to be fighting AJ. Eddie Hearn announced 99% done, which we've just spoke about. What next for AJ? Potentially Jake Paul. But it now looks like that Jake Paul is fighting one of Anthony Joshua's legs. He's fighting Gervonta Davis, somebody who's a quarter of his size. I don't even know what's going on. Has Eddie Hearn been played? Let me know what you think. But the AJ fight with Jake Paul's finished. Gervonta Davis, fake Paul, November. I don't know what's going on in the world of boxing. This is an absolute joke. What next for AJ? We'll get into this.
Interestingly, streamer Adam Ross predicted a clear victory for Jake Paul, claiming he has already placed a bet on Gervonta Davis. He pointed out that Paul is significantly bigger, making the matchup a total physical mismatch.
My point still stands where it stands. Jake Paul wins this fight. I already bet Gervonta Davis in the DMs. We locked the bet. Guys, it's obvious Jake wins this fight. If you guys know anything about fighting, you know about weight classes. You know that Jake's been training for actual years. He's been locked in.
Moreover, Showbiz the Adult highlighted that Gervonta Davis has always been reluctant to fight at 140 pounds, yet is willing to face Jake Paul at 195 pounds.
Honestly, I don't know if Tank fans are going to really respond this time in a negative way to this take I'm going to have. But here are my concerns. One, again, how the hell is Tank too small for 140 but can fight Jake Paul at 200?
He dismissed claims the bout being an exhibition changes the dynamics, explaining that the exhibition label exists only because no organization would sanction the massive weight difference. Aside from that, Showbiz stated that the rest of the rules will follow standard professional boxing regulations.
Don't give me it's an exhibition. Jake Paul himself says it's only an exhibition because no one would sanction the weight difference. Other than that, all the rules gonna be same as a pro fight. This was always the plan. This was always the plan. Tank Davis told you at the press conference, the post-press conference of the month.
However, former world champion R.A. Berto commented that while the fight sounds wild, holding it in Atlanta is a smart strategic decision. He noted that no matter the event, Atlanta fans show up and he expects the arena to be packed for this matchup.
Sounds crazy. That sounds real crazy. But doing it in Atlanta was a very smart strategic move. Because one thing about Atlanta, I lived in Atlanta for a good 4 to 5 years, and I know one thing when it comes to us, anything that's popping in the city, they coming out. They coming out. The city is coming out. So the city will be coming out. It's going to be packed. A packed house in Atlanta to come out. And of course, support Gervonta, because like I say, Jake ain't never in his life going to see a stadium so filled with black people in his life. You know what I mean? They coming out. It's going to be crazy.
Moreover, Berto acknowledged that many in the boxing community are upset over the matchup, driven by their passion for the sport. He pointed out that the landscape of boxing has shifted and that today the focus is heavily on entertainment. Berto noted that many fans don't fully understand how the modern boxing business operates.
I see a lot of people in the comments, of course, they're upset about it because we're true boxing fans. But listen, as of right now, the state of boxing, it's all about entertainment. It's all about entertainment. This is going to be one of them. People don't understand, man, how this boxing game goes, right? I'm not surprised that he made a fight like that happen because he doesn't care what you think anymore. Gervonta does not care what y'all think anymore. The way he felt after that Roach fight, how he felt like everybody turned on him. He was already talking about retiring and he hate this fight game now. This
This man just going to get the bag. He don't care what you think. He's going to go in there and get the bag, and I know Al Heyman.
Building on that, Paulie Malignaggi considers the matchup between Gervonta Davis and Jake Paul highly unusual. He said that even if talks were happening, he never expected the fight to actually be made. Malignaggi criticized the boxing community, pointing out that Gervonta has been made into a star while not facing legitimate top-level opponents, making this matchup completely ridiculous.
Gervonta Davis versus Jake Paul. Jake Paul versus Gervonta Davis, however you want to call it. Didn't really see this one coming. I know a lot of people were talking about it. There was the rumor mill. I don't know if you guys at home had heard the rumor mill. This had been being talked about even prior to the Lamon Roach fight. I thought it was so utterly ridiculous, especially that you've essentially manufactured Gervonta into a star without really having him fight any major threats in his career, you know? I know the groupies are gonna say somebody like saying, well, if Leo Santa Cruz is the biggest name on your resume, you got a problem. Like Santa Cruz was probably dying shot by the time he fought Gervonta Davis.
But Malignaggi expects the announcement to spark major curiosity due to the significant height difference between the fighters. He also emphasized that since this is an exhibition, the result will only matter in the case of a stoppage. Key details such as glove size and ring dimensions still need to be finalized.
And I sure as hell love to hear the comments. It's gonna generate curiosity for sure. Jake Paul is huge. I mean, this is like, he's going to be almost a foot bigger than Gervonta Davis. This is an exhibition, so there's not going to be an official winner unless there's a stoppage. So things like glove size, ring size still has to be dictated and figured out. I don't know. I don't know what you do with this. I don't know what boxing's coming to. This is what happens when you manufacture a star instead of letting stars organically create themselves. You get guys who don't want to test themselves, who've been spoiled and have been able to, make a lot of free money for no reason. Not for no reason. The thing about Gervonta Davis is he is physically talented. I just don't think mentally he was ever that strong of a fighter.
And at the same time, Lamon Roach Sr. addressed the situation surrounding the anticipated Lamon Roach Jr. versus Gervonta Davis rematch. He revealed that while fans were eagerly looking forward to the fight, plans had not materialized as expected. Roach Sr. made it clear that they will not sit idle waiting for the matchup and intend to keep their careers moving forward. He added that they hope the fight still happens eventually, but their immediate goal is to get Lamon Roach Jr. back in the ring before the end of the year.
Pretty much said it all, that's the fight we want, and I think that's the fight the fans want, such after a great fight like that. Everybody's looking forward to the second bout, but unfortunately, things ain't lining up as planned, so we just can't sit around and wait. We gotta move forward and continue our career. We're not in a position just to see stagnated and wait for something like that to happen. That fight's gonna be there, hopefully it happens soon, but we're looking to get back in the ring for the year out, and I think we will, so just listen out for the next news update.
Furthermore, Shakur Stevenson criticized Gervonta Davis for showing disrespect to the sport by choosing to fight Jake Paul instead of facing him. Stevenson suggested that the reason Davis accepted the bout is because he cannot defeat either Lamon Roach Jr. or Stevenson himself, and is instead looking to cash in on the payday against Paul.
What do you think about the rumors of Tank and Jake fight?
Man, Tank disrespectful to the sport if he choose that over fighting with me. I'm the best fighter in the sport. I've been telling him that. He called cap on it. So if you gonna call cap and say I'm not who I say I am, come prove it. I think it's dangerous for him to go back in there and fight Lamon. I think Lamon is a hell of a fighter. I can see that going left. So he better be on his A game.
However, Showbiz the Adult expressed confidence that Jake Paul will knock out Gervonta Davis. He noted that if Paul had no prior boxing experience, he would have favored Davis. But Paul's time in the sport and growing experience give him a clear advantage. Despite this, Showbiz said he will be rooting for Gervonta in the fight.
My prediction is Jake Paul at 200 plus pounds knocks out a lightweight. I can't, listen, bro, why would I think otherwise, right? I would only think otherwise if Jake Paul didn't have any experience boxing, but now he's been in many camps. He done put together a decent resume. He put together a resume as any boxer would who has fought a handful of, 11 fights or 12, I don't know his record, all right? But what I'm saying is he's a heavyweight fighting a lightweight. I'm assuming he knocks him out, but I tell you this, I would be rooting on Gervonta Tank Davis. I'm rooting for Gervonta to win. I cannot, as a boxing fan.
Moreover, the weight concept revealed how Jake Paul's partnership with Netflix typically operates, noting that his fights are usually scheduled on Fridays. He highlighted that even the Mike Tyson exhibition fight followed this pattern.
Jake Paul will be fighting Gervonta Tank Davis on November 14th, 2025. That's a Friday, not a Saturday. That's usually how the Jake Paul Netflix partnerships work. They fight on Fridays because Netflix has deals with college football in the fall and even the NFL around the Thanksgiving time frame. They did the Mike Tyson fight on a Friday night. I'm pretty sure they did the Katie Taylor and Manacerrano 3 fight on a Friday night. This makes a lot more sense as to the kind of cryptic tweet that Nikisa had earlier today about sources coming out and saying they had it right when they had it wrong. He meant the date. It was the wrong date by 1 day. It'll be on November 14th.
Adding to that, Wade commented that when the fight was only a rumor, he already viewed it as nonsensical. He maintained that opinion but acknowledged that anything generating money makes sense in the sport. He pointed out how Jake Paul alternates between somewhat credible opponents and completely ridiculous matchups to maximize both earnings and respect.
Number one, this is an exhibition, and when this was rumored to happen months ago and I was saying it was a nonsensical fight for Jake to do, I still think it's a nonsensical one from a boxer perspective, from his goals in boxing perspective. But again, if it makes dollars, it makes sense, and we've seen that Jake will kind of bounce in between doing these entertainment fights and then, you know, trying to push toward his goal of you know, ingraining himself in the sport of boxing, and kind of does both of them. So it's kind of a weird place to be because he wants the respect of the boxing fans and the boxing hierarchy and hardcore boxing people, but at the same time, he'll gain some of that and then lose some of it. It's like a seesaw of his fights. Like one fight, and be like, okay, that's a real fight, or that's a real fight, and he'll go and he'll win the fight.
Wade added that if Jake Paul had taken on Anthony Joshua, the fight could have done far more for Paul's profile. However, facing a professional like Joshua would also have exposed him to much greater risk. He noted that from a fan's perspective, there is respect for Paul stepping into the ring against a top-level fighter like Joshua.
They were only a network broadcast away from actually making that fight, and honestly, out of the two of these, I'm gonna be dead honest, I would have loved to see Jake. As risky, as insane as it was, I don't think I would have ever advised Jake to fight Anthony Joshua, but I definitely, as a viewer, would have been like, okay, I'm watching that. I mean, I'm watching this too, but the point, I think that the Anthony Joshua fight would have done more for Jake from a fan perspective, but also probably left him in far worse shape. So it's another one of those, it's a weird one. Jake fights are just weird because I don't even know how to like describe them. It was insane to think he was gonna fight Anthony Joshua, but as a fan, kind of respected the idea that he would do it.
In the end, the Jake Paul versus Gervonta Davis fight has already achieved what it was meant to do by sparking a heated debate across the boxing world. Whether people love it or hate it, November 15 in Atlanta will deliver a spectacle that has fans watching closely to see if it turns out to be a circus act, a cash grab, or an unexpected twist in the sport. Let us know your thoughts about Jake Paul fighting Tank in the comment section below. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Don't forget to hit the bell icon so you never miss a beat, and we'll see you in the next video with more exciting updates.